Here are 10 things I love about my Model 3. Let's get into it. Good morning, guys. Well, having driven the car now for just about 13,500 miles, I've developed certain favorite features in the car. Now, anytime you drive a Tesla and people ask you what you like about it, there's some obvious things. The performance, just the fact that it's electric, and those are obvious things, or just the unique aspects of owning a Tesla and the status symbol that it is and all that. Those are the things people tend to think about. But there are a bunch of things that you may not really consider until you own one and have driven it for a while. So these are 10 things that I personally love about my car. A bunch of them you'll say, yep, that's obvious, but some of them will probably come as a surprise to you. These aren't in any real particular order, although my most favorite couple things about the car I'm going to leave for the end. But one is lack of wind noise. And I know it sounds strange to hear that because many people complain about Model 3s having a lot of wind noise, but mine isn't one of them. This car I find to be very quiet through the wind, so one of the things that I love, because our other cars really do have more wind noise at freeway speeds. So the next one, very tight turning radius. This is something about the Model 3 that I don't know that I've heard anyone else mention. I've mentioned it a couple times in my other videos, but something I really love about it is for the size car it turns extremely tight. So I love that. It's easy to do U-turns and whatnot in this car. So another thing that I love, which may come as a surprise, because for those of you that have watched my videos, you know that I love a stylized dashboard. But one of the things I've come to love about the Model 3 is the flat dashboard. Now, not the plain look of the dashboard necessarily, but I mean, I love the look of the screen. But what I mean by that is just the fact that there's a level surface here, and it's got a non-skid kind of grippy surface to it. So if you wanted to set something on the dash, you can, and you can kind of turn left and right, and it won't move. So you can lay objects up on that dashboard, and if you're on a road trip or whatever, you're in Autopilot, you want to set something up there temporarily, or if you're, whatever, if you're pulled over to eat, it's a nice flat platform. So very nice sort of feature to the car. I don't know if they were intending it to be that way, but it's really a nice shelf. So the sound system, oh my goodness. I still have to do a video just purely on the sound system in this car, but it is incredible. There is, no matter how loud you crank it, there's no distortion. It is crisp and clean and accurate. Just a wonder to use. I love it. Next is the fact that the car is very smooth. Now, since I've lowered it, some of the harsh bumps you feel even more, so some aspects of the smoothness have gone away, but it is, part of this goes back to the lack of wind noise, but it's very smooth on the expressway. There's smoothness just exudes its way through this car. You've got the smooth acceleration from the electric powertrain, the quiet sound on the highway, very accurate steering, very well thought out suspension, nice seats. All of these things contribute to the smoothest ride I've ever had. Now, there may be cars that are more cushy over bumps, but the overall experience of driving this car is very smooth. So next item, the voice activated features in the car, the nav, absolutely wonderful. The voice commands, this car recognizes voice like none other. All of our other cars that we've had, the last 4 or 5 cars, have all had voice commands, and you have to enunciate yourself properly or they don't understand you. You could slur to death with this car and it still understands you. It is wonderful. So the next item is sort of overlaps with that voice comment, and that is the navigation system. The nav on this thing is amazing. The fact that you can do either Google Maps or you can do the what I call the cartoon GPS is wonderful with, you know, simple tap to switch back and forth. The greatest thing. The nav is very accurate, and I like the Google Earth because you can see landmarks and you can see, oh, I know where that water tower is or whatever. Very nice. But here's something that I really find phenomenal, and that is that you can voice search, and it will search the internet and find your location that you're looking for. So for instance, navigate to Subway. So it says searching. So there we go. It lists Subway restaurants, South Randall Road, Carpentersville, Algonquin. It lists various Subway restaurants. So you can choose one and it will automatically route you there. It wants me to turn around to go back to the one that I chose. Now I'm going to go to a business that I do business with. So let's see here. Navigate to Sunberg Company, South Elgin. Now it's searching. It brought up the only location. Hit navigate because it wants to make sure that you actually want to reroute to that location. So you have to tell it that yes, you do want to go there. So absolutely wonderful, that voice search feature, one of my favorite parts of the car. So next item, super advanced traction control. Oh my gosh, all of our cars have traction control, and they all manufacturers seem to approach traction control in different ways. So for instance, my Ford C-Max Hybrid, the traction control in that car would stutter. When the wheels started to slip, it would kind of, the drive would kind of stutter that way. It would go and stop and go and stop, so you get this feeling as it would try to accelerate. It was almost like ABS in reverse, that pulsing sensation. Our Honda, when it loses traction control or loses traction, the traction control kicks in, it cuts power. But it doesn't, it cuts power really far for a while, then kicks back in. So if the wheels start to slip, you kind of get this so it kills power for like a solid second, then gives you power again. It's weird. This thing, oh my goodness, I haven't checked what the sampling rate is, but it's so buttery smooth, it's got to be in the thousands of times per second that it samples traction and adjusts torque accordingly. And you can do that with an electric drivetrain. You can't do it with other cars. So, or with other, with a typical gasoline powertrain, that type of thing is much more difficult. With an electric drivetrain, you can more easily give it a super high number of traction samples and corrections per second. So item number 9, Autopilot. Now that may seem like an obvious one, but let me tell you, for those of you that haven't had Autopilot in a car before, it is a godsend. Absolutely incredible. Now it is a little bit annoying that it's not, you can't really take your hands off the wheel and just stay like that. You can let go, but it will nag you. You're supposed to leave a hand on the wheel. And I understand why, and I know it will improve to the point that you can go hands-free, but even with one hand on the wheel, it is the greatest thing in the world. I do business from my car, and if I get a phone call or you know, whatever, and I have to pay a little bit of attention to the phone call or whatever, Autopilot is absolutely wonderful to help. Now, I would never want to just take my eyes off the road and just look around. I mean, you can do a little bit of that, but it's not like I trust Autopilot and I'm going to close my eyes or anything like that, but it does take the load of driving off, so you can divide your attention a little bit, and it's got your back. The greatest thing in the world. For those that drive a lot, Autopilot is absolutely awesome. And my favorite part of this car isn't necessarily a feature as much as it is just owning and driving a Tesla and a Model 3 in particular. And that is just the sense, every time I get behind the wheel of this thing, that I'm driving the future. And you know, even reviewers that have disassembled the Model 3s have talked about how this car is many years ahead of any other car ever produced. And you do get that sense while driving it. You are driving the future. I mean, it is such a different experience from any other car. It's absolutely awesome. So anyway, there are other things that I love about this car, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video, but I figured 10 things for now are good enough. There's a number of neat little quirks about the car that aren't necessarily my favorite things, but they're kind of interesting little quirks, and I'll do a video on that. I've also got a few things that I hate about this car, and I have historically disliked YouTube channels that do 5 things I like and then a follow-up of 5 things I hate about my car. So I kind of hesitated to do this video, but it's something that I get asked periodically. What are the things I like about the car and what do I dislike? So I wanted to do this video for you guys. Anyway, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, do what you got to do, and talk to you guys in a couple more days for the next video. Take it easy.